Every lunch hour, the kids from St. Patrick's School, Joseph Howe School, and other schools in the community come to what the children call the Dinner Church on Cornwallis Street in the north end of Halifax for a hot and nutritious meal. Thanks to a caring community and the United Way, this program has been providing a hot meal for children in the community since 1970.
The program started between 1970 and 71. It started as a pilot project because of the fact that our former pastor, he initiated this whole thing, and in coming back and forth to the church during the lunch hour, he found a lot of the little children sitting on the church steps and just roaming around the streets. And there was one little girl especially, she was always sitting on the church step. So he asked her, why wasn't she going home for her lunch? And she said she couldn't go home. And he said, well, why? He said, because my parents aren't home, they're at work. So he said, what do you do all week long, when you're going to school? She said, I just hang around the streets. So he said, you just wait. He said, I'll go in, he said, and I'll call my wife. So he called her and told her he had a little girl down there that he wanted to share his lunch with her, and if she could bring something down and they would have lunch together. So his wife brought the lunch down, and she had lunch with the pastor, and the next day she came with another little friend. And so this went on for a week, and then he began to realize there is a need for this kind of a program.
Don't give me no patty, don't give me no sauce. What are you having, just bun? Huh?
The fish in the bun.
No, just the fish.
That's all I know.
Tom, just here, just put my hand. No, you girl. No, I can't eat the bread.
Oh, you can eat the fish. I love the fish.
So do I.
So does Nathan.
Right? I stop getting that for the kids.
Okay, can we have Grace, please?
God is good. God is great. Let us thank you for our food. Amen.
Thank you.
My name is Carl. And my name is
It's a most wonderful program to know that somebody cares. And I say this, I can never forget, I can never leave out the fact that Reverend Dr. Mack was the father of the whole thing. And I say it began because there was one compassionate person who had a love for children and a love for human beings. And when he saw that, the story I've been told repeatedly by him himself is when he was right here in the center, he and Deacon Jones, and he was on his way home to lunch. And as he was passing the church, the little girl was sitting on the church step. And they all knew him. Good afternoon, Reverend Mack. And he said, good afternoon. If I'm wrong, you can correct me, but this is the way I've been told the story, and I've repeated it. And he said, why are you sitting there? And, why haven't you gone to lunch? And she said, well, I don't go to lunch. Well, why? Well, because there's nobody home. Well, what do you do every day? I just play around till it's time to go back to school, childlike, in all honesty. I just play around and then I go back to school. He said, no, you come back in here with me. You mean you haven't had lunch? No, well, you come back with me. So he brought her back in here, called his wife from here, Mrs. Mack, and you all know how compassionate and loving and kind she was. He called her from here and asked if she had anything she could bring down, a sandwich or something. I got a little girl here who hasn't had lunch. We could run something down. Well, immediately she was here with whatever, sandwich most likely. And needless to say, the next day, that little girl told her friends, if you're on the church step tomorrow, Reverend Mack will see that we have lunch. And sure enough, when the next day, there were three with her. And the next day, there were about 5. And that's when he made the announcement that by Sunday, he made the announcement in church. I don't know, he said, if you folks are aware of it, but we have children in this community who are not having lunch. And is there anyone who has anything to bring to the church or come in and help us, just in case some kids show up? And from there is where Mrs. Chandler and Mrs. Lucas. He needed volunteers to come in and help him in case people brought food. He needed someone to look after the children when they did come, and so from there it grew. And as Mrs. Chandler said, I was told by Dr. Mack that the first week they had up to 35, and from there it grew. And then it grew, and he asked more help from the congregation. It grew to where it expanded beyond the walls of our congregation. And there's where he had to then start soliciting help from wherever he could get it, because he could see the need, and because he had a love for children and a love for human beings, he felt something must be done. So it grew from there with donations, private donations, and then grants at that time, just a grant, and then on into, once he was aware of United Way, it grew. This didn't all happen overnight. This is going on like a period of years until it grew into United Way. And then that's when we started getting involved with United.
That's why the pastor saw the great need in that at that time, because it was children that didn't have breakfast, that was going to school without breakfast in the morning and cold and without a hot lunch or hot drink. And he saw that need, and that was the beginning. And that's how we started. He called the ladies that was available at that time to come and help, and it was Eileen Lucas and myself at that time.
The children come for all different reasons, from all different backgrounds. So we put it that we have it that no child is barred. We don't investigate their background. All we require of them is their parents to sign an application form in September that their children can attend, leave their home phone number, their doctor's number in case it's an emergency and we have to reach them. There is no charge. It's all free. And we serve these lunch programs 10 months of the school year. Runs from September to the end of June. And they come from the Alexandra, St. Pat's School, Joe Howe up here on Maynard Street, and some come from the Joe Howe McKay on Russell Street. And we've had them come as far as from Wedgwood area, because some of them have problems with their studying, and at St. Pat's they have a special class for these kinds of children, and so they're a long ways from home, so they come here for their lunch too. And we usually serve them, we try to keep within the Canada Food Guide as far as serving them meals. We try to give them foods of nutritious value. They have, for sandwiches, peanut butter and jam. They're eating those until they're coming to your ears. And cheese sandwiches. But usually we try to vary the menu from day to day so they don't get the same thing over every day and get tired of it, you know. So usually we have maybe spaghetti and meat sauce, macaroni and cheese, or casseroles, or mashed potatoes and meat, what have you, you know. And the desserts vary, and this time of year we try to give them a lot of fresh fruit. And during the winter months when they're so costly, we usually give them the canned fruit and things like that. So we try to give them foods that are nutritious value. We don't give them junk food.
Okay, and can you tell us your name?
My name is Sissy Gangu.
Okay, and how long have you been coming to the hot lunch program here at the church?
Ever since I was about 6 years old.
So how many years is that? How old are you now?
I'm 14, so that's about 7 years now. But before I didn't come, because my mom didn't work here for about a couple years, so I didn't come.
So your mom works here and provides food here?
Yep.
Do you like the food that you get here?
Sometimes.
What sorts of things do they give you?
We get hot dogs, we get sloppy joes, we have boiled dinners, we have turkey dinners.
Soup almost every day.
We have soup and sandwiches, and we have fried rice and other stuff.
It sounds pretty good. Do you know where the food's coming from? Who's providing the food here?
The United Way.
Realize that they have to be responsible too, so they have to pick up after themselves and take all the waste over there, and all the girls have to do is clean off the tables and wash them down. So what we have a ruling that if a child misbehaves and breaks the rules, then he's barred for a day, and if they continue to do so, they're barred for a week. This year we have a much better setup because the board has taken on that responsibility. All of that responsibility fell on me, and it got to the point where I didn't like that because it looked like just I was being blamed, you know, like Mrs. Upshaw has too much authority, Mrs. Upshaw this, Mrs. Upshaw that. But if you realize you've got children, there has to be some rules and guidelines when you're dealing with these numbers of children. So the board has sent letters out to the parents and they want them to cooperate, and let them, the children, if they have problems with the children, they send them a letter. They will speak to the children.
The principal has given us that word. Those teachers.
Really?
The teachers and the principals have several times said that they see a great difference after dinner.
Really?
Oh yes, very
And I'm
much.
sure a number of the boys to this day would speak very highly of
One
this
of the
program.
ladies that I remember, and a lot of people around here remember Mrs. Mack. She brought us all into the dinner church, treated us all like her, her own little kids, fed us our meals, sent us all back to school.
Why do you volunteer for the hot lunch program?
For the kids. It's nice to see them have a good meal at lunchtime.
Same as here for the children.
Yeah, it's for the children.
I really enjoy working with the children.
The years that I've been on it, I truly enjoyed it. I mean, I have no children in this area or anything. It's just that I love children, and I see a need. And wherever I see a need, be it children, old people, whoever, I'm going to be there to do what I can to help anybody. Now we have now come to we've grown this far where now this year we're starting another project, in which is very much involved with these children as well. We've been very, very concerned about the other 3/4 of an hour, 3/4 to an hour, as to what they're doing once they leave the program. Now, as Ms. Chandler and Sister Yvonne tell you, that when it started, they also, I guess Mrs. Mack and you ladies had activities for them as well, or they were able to go to the Y down here and fill in time.
They would go
When
to the Y.
yeah, and she
until
saw that
time
they
to
were
go
there,
back to
somewhere to
school.
go. But there isn't a Y anymore. There is a George Dixon Center, but for them to leave and go to that, during that time, the space and the time they should be going there, children being children, they find it easier to get in mischief than to go in and do activities. So we are now working with the school. Hopefully the church, the school, and the hot lunch are going to work together to find ways to have something going for them at noon hour, and hopefully we can do that right within our church hall and downstairs, and keep them right within our own area. And by time through movies, constructive movies, and perhaps a bit of basketball and crafts and things that will entertain children of their ages. And we'll have people that will help with those programs, so that we can sort of curb some of the idleness that they have. And the devil works in idle minds. He's just waiting for those little children out there, and they're getting into mischief. We have had behavioral problems, and it is a great concern to us, to their parents, and to the community. And these things we're trying now to curb. So we're hoping now to start this program. We have a principal who is very interested in the children, and we're hoping to build better citizens and make it a better community in which to live.